Before I have any guests or animals in my zoo, I need some staff to manage everything. Now, we can hire staff from the zoo management menu. So here in the bottom left is the zoo button. If I click on that, it opens up the zoo overview. Here on the left, we have the different categories, and the third one down here is staff. If I click on staff, it opens a sub menu. We're not going to worry about all of this just now for staff management. All we're going to look at is how to hire staff. And for a basic zoo, we're going to need a caretaker, a keeper, a mechanic, some security, and a veterinarian. If I click on the caretaker, you'll see them hovering with a little blue funnel about showing where they'll fall. And if I click on the floor, we now have a caretaker doing the rounds. A keeper will look after and feed animals. So if I click on the keeper and again place on a path, we now have a keeper doing the rounds. A mechanic will repair barriers and other parts of the zoo. Security guard will look after thieves and vandals. And a veterinarian will look after sick animals and do some research later on that's going to become quite important. So with a caretaker, a keeper, a mechanic, security, and a veterinarian, we now have the bare minimum staff needed to run our zoo. And now that we've hired them, you can see they've popped up in this list. Each of them has their own name and some more information. We'll come to that later on. Now that we have staff, we need some staff buildings. Staff buildings are where your staff rest and where they do some work and look after animals. Now, over near the habitats we built earlier, we have these two staff paths. So I'm going to use these as the starting point. Going down into the paths menu on the left, I'm going to select staff paths, and you have 4 different color options. I'm just going to go with the standard one here. And again, on the right, you have those same options. I want to be a bit more flexible with my staff, so I'm going to take off the angle, keep the length, but bring down the width. And you'll see we get a bit more of a kind of curvy path, which I do like to give a bit more natural feeling. So we're going to go from this gate here. I'm going to go up a bit and then curl around and rejoin the guest path down here. Now, the reason for that is I want a bit more extra space to build some staff buildings. So I've got that nice long path there in the background. I'm going to now use the path to connect this gate as well. So now we have a staff path that can access both habitat gates. This path can also be used for staff buildings, and staff buildings can be found in facilities. When you click on the facilities menu, there is a lot. But for now, we're just going to focus on the left, filtering down to staff facilities. When you click on staff facilities, you'll see there's actually a lot of options. However, there's only really 2 types of options. You have these blank options, and then you have these prefab options. The difference here is that these options here, the basic ones, are just a shell and a door, maybe a window, but not very pretty looking. And then you have prefab versions which have some walls, decorations, lights attached to them. They cost a little more because they have scenery pieces on them. So for now, to save money and get the zoo started, we're just going to build some of these simple structures. And we're going to start here with the Animal Trade Center. This allows us to trade animals. And if we hover near the path, you'll see it automatically connects up with the main path. Clicking the button drops it down. We're also going to put in a keeper's hut next to it, a quarantine, and a small staff room. So of the 6 buildings that are available, I'm just using the keeper's hut, the Animal Trade Center, the quarantine, and the staff room. Now, why these 4? Because the staff room allows your staff to rest and regain energy. The quarantine helps look after sick animals. The Animal Trade Center lets you trade your animals so we can get some animals into our habitats. And the keeper's hut allows our keepers to look after those animals. So we can start off with some basic services to look after our animals and get some guests into the zoo. So I'm going to exit that, have a double check, 2 habitats, 4 basic staff buildings, core set of staff. Okay, we're now ready to get our first animals into our zoo. So now we're ready to have the first animals come into our zoos and move into their habitats. This can seem a bit daunting when you first get started, but in 3 easy steps, I'm going to show you how to understand how to get an animal into the right habitat in your zoo so they can have a good, long, happy life. The first thing you need to consider is the habitat. We built these 2 earlier on, and if we click on one of the habitat walls, you'll remember that this menu opens on the right side. Now, there's a few options here, but the first thing we want to look at is the terrain. When we click on the terrain, we have these options for space, terrain distribution, and bodies of water. To start with, all we care about is land area, and the land area of this habitat is 400 meters squared. If I click on to habitat 2 and go to terrain, we see this land area is 680 square meters. So for habitat 3, 400, for habitat 2 is 680. So come back to habitat 1, we have 400 square meters of land area. So this is the area our animal will have to move around. Once we know the land area, we can then look at the animal trading market. Here in the bottom left, you have the animal trading button. This button became available when we built the animal trade center over here. So now that we have animal trading available, we're going to click, and this will open up the animal market. It will always open with an animal pre-selected. I'm not quite sure why, but by clicking reset all filters, it will show us all the available animals in the market. There is a lot of information to take in, and if you're like me, the first thing you'll notice is the pictures on the left and everything else will kind of fade away. And you'll find the animals you like the look of and then try to understand what everything else here means. To get started, for the simplest way to have some good, healthy animals in your zoo, I recommend going to price, clicking on price until you get all of the animals sorted by the lowest price first. And we'll see here we have 2 Indian peafowls for around $170, $190 each. When I click on the Indian peafowl, it opens the new menu here on the right that has even more information. For now, we're going to skip through to here at the bottom where it says Zoopedia, and we're going to click on that. This opens the game's dedicated Zoopedia that has all the information about the animals, a nice description that explains about their species, how they live, where they live, and a few options here at the top, plus options to filter on the left here. We're not going to worry about all these just now. All we want to know is how much space does the animal need. And if we go to natural habitat here at the top, we will see we have a map of where you can find the animal. And on the right, we will have information about its origins and the minimum habitat requirement. The minimum habitat requirement is the bit we care about most, and we can see here that under land requirement is 312 squared meters. Remembering that the habitats we had were 400 and 600 squared meters, that means those habitats are big enough for this animal. So we know that the land requirement is 312 meters. However, this land requirement only applies to 1 adult. Just here you see we have a toggle for adults. If I was to increase the number of adults, you will see the land requirement increases or decreases. If I was to put 2 adults and say 2 juveniles, you'll see it changes as well, but juveniles require less space than adults. So by just changing this up and down, I can see that even if I had 5 adults and 3 juveniles, they would need 378 meters, which is still under the 400 I have for habitat 1. This says that I can adopt 2 Indian peafowls, put them in habitat 1, and that will be enough space for them. So now that I know that, I can go up to this top right button in green called market. It will take me back to the animal market with Indian peafowl selected, and I'm going to select this one because it's a male, and I'm going to, we have 0% fertility. I didn't want to cover these just yet, but this section here is genetics and breeding, and basically gives you some key statistics about the animal: size, how long it will live, how fertile it is, and how healthy it will be against diseases. Generally, you want these in green in your early stages Orange is better than nothing, but red is never good, and 0% fertility means that this animal will potentially not breed. That's a problem. I need to find a new animal. So I'm just going to reset the filters again, do the same thing, sort by price, and move to the next animal in the list, which is the common warthog. I'm only seeing males. Okay, so we're going to do a quick little shortcut here. So I'm going to select the Bakari, the common warthog. I'm going to go to the right, Zoopedia, and then just go straight back to the market using this button, because what that button does is reopens the animal market but filters the animals to just show the one you wanted to see. And I can see there is actually a female available. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to jump back into the Zoopedia, check the natural habitat, check the land requirement, bring it up to 300, still below the 400 available. So that works. Back into the market, go to the common warthog, 17% for that male, 100% for that male, but 8%. So I've got 2 reds, 2 oranges, and I've got 2 greens, 1 orange, 1 red. That looks a bit better. The longevity is concerning. Ooh, I mean Bakari, because we were there to begin with. We're going to go to Bakari. At the bottom of the right option we have adopt. Done. Okay, and now the female, we have 2 orange, 2 greens. Fine, adopt. So now we have 2 animals waiting to go into our zoo. So still on the animal market screen, I can see that these 2 animals now have this sign saying waiting in trade center. Now if I click on this button, it will take me over to the trade center. If I wanted to get here from any other menu, I would come down here to the animal trading button, and on the left where we have animal market, the next option is animal storage, and I will click on both these boxes here. On the right is center zoo, and then I will select habitat 3, and now staff will begin rushing to deliver those animals to their habitat. There goes Ramona heading to the animal trade center. She's now got a box. Oh, here she comes. There goes Ramona, and now we have, hey, look at that with a nice gold confetti. We have our first animal inside our zoo. This is the common warthog, and you can see they're having a look around to get used to their new surroundings. So there we go, a few options. We had one little snag with the peafowls, but now we have a common warthog, and it is Bakari. I think Bakari's become a bit of an icon. There he is. We have Bakari, and in comes his new missus, hopefully. She's been released, and now she will be in that habitat. And just by having the 2 animals arrive, you will see over at the entrance, guests have started to arrive as well. Okay, so we have built paths, we've built barriers, we've built staff facilities, we've hired staff, and we've looked at how to get animals in our zoo, and there they are.